Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to GB Gaming. I am feeling very lucky today because I am joined by the creators of the Star Trek New Horizons mod for Stellaris, and I have the wonderful Woolshicus. Hello Woolshicus.
Hey there.
And the wonderful Shago with me. Hi Shago.
Hey Rain.
So I'm feeling very lucky because I kind of only contacted you guys recently to kind of beg for an interview, because I was like, I need to get this mod covered. You know, I feel bad because there's a Star Trek mod out there and I haven't yet covered it. So I was like, I need to talk to these guys, and hopefully you guys in the community are going to leave us some comments in here. And if you would, I will say right now at the start, like to have kind of like a live stream interview with these developers, then please let us know in the comments, because I know you guys would be up for that if we get enough feedback from you guys in the community. So without further ado, we'll just dive straight into another Modders and Modding, and I'm going to try and fire some questions off, and either of you can answer, or you can take it in turns to answer, whatever you find most comfortable. But first of all, just why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves? I think that's always the nicest question to ask right at the start.
Cool. Well, Shago, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm like nearly 30, and I'm a huge Star Trek fan, like from childhood. And I also know a lot about Paradox modding. I've started actually with Hearts of Iron 2, which is, I don't know, probably more than 14 years back or something. Yeah, so that's where I got into like the Paradox code, and I really love it because it's very it's easy to understand, and you can do a lot of stuff there. And I also like love all the Paradox games because there's they kind of invented the grand strategy genre, which I really love. And obviously the first game I dived into was Hearts of Iron, and I remember back in the days there was a 300 pages tutorial on how to play book there.
And did you read it?
And yeah, of course I did.
All 300 pages. You read all 300
pages, and I gotta say, it was necessary.
That sounds about right.
Like, there's like tons of statistics there, and like mathematical equations, how things work and stuff. So that was really helpful. And so I really come from this early Paradox times. I mean, they've opened a lot to the casual players with the recent titles, which is really good, I think, because the first games they were like really complex, and as I said, you needed to like literally read 300 pages to like get into it, and so they did a great job on like streamlining and making it more appealing to other players.
Yeah.
And and then I don't know. I was kind of when Stellaris came out, it was pretty obvious that I gotta do a Star Trek mod for it, and so that's when all this started.
That's when it all started. So that's a little bit about Shago. What about yourself, Woolshicus?
Okay, well, I'm a little bit over 30, so I'm a lifelong Star Trek fan, absolutely obsessed with science fiction, huge nerd, massive Paradox fan as well. So I think my forum account there is, coming up to being able to vote. It's that old. It's pretty crazy, right? My early days were, grand strategy is a passion of mine, but I kind of started off in gaming a bit more in the shooter space. So I did a lot of community work. I was a forum moderator for Bungie on the Halo game. So some guys might remember me from my forum handle there of Suffragula, which let me tell you is a nickname that doesn't really port very well to the Americas. So shied away from that after the shift to Destiny, but they're still a pretty huge Bungie fan. But yeah, Grand Strategy is my passion at the moment. when Stellaris got announced, yeah, I just knew we were going to be doing something there. And the fact that there was a community pretty much set up from the get-go on Stellaris to, sorry, you may hear my dogs in the background. It's pretty much set up from the get-go to talk about, sorry, to build this Star Trek mod. It just fell into place, right? So the first couple of contributions I made to the mod were to the modding scene in Stellaris were the early Star Trek uniforms. So I think some of them are still available. They haven't really been maintained because they've been sort of folded into the main New Horizons mod. But yeah, that's how I got into the Star Trek modding scene for Stellaris, and then Shago contacted me, and we went from there.
Okay, so that's quite a nice kind of sort of entry into the modding scene in terms of a little bit about yourself. Is this the first major sort of mod that you guys have worked on, or is this just kind of like an evolution for you, really? I mean, you mentioned Shago, for example, read the 300-page manual and had a tinker around and tried to learn bits about the code. But is this the first like actual right? We're going to make a mod moment for you guys.
For me, it's not really. So in the past, I've often contributed to bigger projects like the Modern Days mod for Hearts of Iron, also the Black Ice mod. So yeah, I was always like a little bit into the modding, but not like doing real project myself.
Yeah,
we have tried to actually do a pretty neat total conversion back then for Hearts of Iron 3, but then we ran into like huge technical problems, so we kind of blew it off at that time, and then we wanted to like revisit but never came to it, and then obviously New Horizons happened, so don't really have time to dive into another total conversion there, but
Yeah, I think that's different from me. My previous experience was very limited in terms of modding. I did a handful of Hearts of Iron 3 mods. None of them really got distributed very widely. They're all for personal use, really. So yeah, for me, New Horizons is my first major project, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
That's always the way when you first kind of dive into something massive. And you get the kind of response that you get, and you're kind of like, whoa, what have I got myself into? But we'll come on to that in a little bit more detail a bit later. So could you kind of describe to me what your roles are in the mod team itself before we get into the guts of the mod? So what do you guys do in the mod for your part?
Sure. Shago?
So I'm doing lots of stuff. So mainly I'm maintaining like the implementation of our coding, the tech tree coding, and lots of stuff what's connected there, and also I really love making new mechanics, but recently I didn't like really have time to push some of my cool ideas, which are which will definitely be coming at at some time there. I'm kind of I'm doing I don't know, I'm hopping in and off in the different areas, and also helping on the 3D side of things, and where so really
Man of
everywhere.
Many talents, many hats. I like it.
Indeed.
And yourself, Washkas?
Sure. Well, I guess I started off handling the 2D side of things, so the species, the clothing, a lot of the icons. A lot of that in the first instance came from me. Subsequently, we've got a lot of people helping with some more of the sort of the buildings and some of the smaller 2D components to the mod. So I've kind of shifted over a little bit into sort of dabbling into 3D. At the same time, I guess my passion, because I'm not an artist, so it's kind of, it's I like getting something out there, but I don't really have a passion for that. My passion is writing events, and that's my creative outlet. So a lot of the events you see in the game, so most of the Zindi arc, a lot of the crises, a good chunk of the flavor and anomalies, they're written by myself and coded by myself. We've got a lot of people contributing in this space, so it isn't just me. There's a lot of really talented people helping us there. But that's probably, aside from the 2D side of things, that's probably where you see, I guess, most of my influence. So the Zindi arc and the event chains around them, I think they're probably my crowning achievement so far. Alongside some of the mechanic stuff that me and Shago worked on together, so the Federation formation stuff, I think that's probably like the center point of the human experience for New Horizons. I'm incredibly proud of that. And beyond that, me, Shago, and the other administrator, Grinsel, we oversee and we sort of give guidance to the direction of the mod to the rest of our contributors. So it's the app inside of things is it's not sexy, but it's definitely essential.
And we've just been joined, ladies and gentlemen, because we knew he was turning up late. It was a bit of a surprise. We've just joined by another developer, Harel. So hello, Harel. Nice to have you with us.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. The guys are just telling me about their roles within the mod team. Could you tell us a little bit about your role in the mod team and what you do for New Horizons?
Shadow and Walsh are really the two main founders and the driving force, along with G-Man. I oversee balance, so basically weapons, ships, technologies, components, all the values, all the raw data.
So the numbers man, as they say.
Sort of.
So if the Borg are too overpowerful, then you need to blame Harel, guys. Okay, just send him all the messages.
Really, just blame Harel. That's
just blame Harel. I feel Harel's pain. Having been a balanced lead myself, I understand that pain. So I suppose if I could ask one of you, I don't mind who, but if I could ask one of you to sum up before we get into the deep part of Star Trek and then the mod, could you sum up the mod in a few sentences? That's always the hardest question I put to developers, to describe your mod in a few sentences for people.
Okay. Well, Star Trek New Horizons is a Star Trek grand strategy game. That's basically it. I mean, if you played any Paradox grand strategy games, you kind of know what to expect from a Star Trek grand strategy game.
Excellent.
I imagine if you wanted to put it in terms of products that have already been released, then I guess Birth of the Federation is probably the game that's probably closest to how we want the mod to operate. There's still a lot of divergence from there. Obviously, Birth of the Federation is a very old, very, very good game still. But yeah,
we've chatted about that before, Walshkus. I know you're a big fan of Birth of the Federation, and that kind of brings us nicely on to Star Trek in total. And I think you guys kind of gave a hint at this in your individual chats there. But why Star Trek in particular? I mean, you talked about Halo as well and being a big Bungie fan, but for you guys, why Star Trek?
Well, if I can take it, I think Stellaris personally, not just because of the ease of modding, but really the entire approach. When you think about it, the exploration part, the anomalies, you could see that they were thinking about Star Trek all along. And I don't think there's a game that's more suitable to be modded to Star Trek than Stellaris.
And I kind of agree with you there, because a lot of people, a lot of our fans here who watch the channel are also big Star Wars fans, and I do think Stellaris lends itself as well to Star Wars, but not in the same kind of level as exploring new worlds and civilizations, boldly going where no man has gone before. I think that the epitome of Star Trek is in Stellaris, because, as you said, you've got those anomalies, and I never really felt in Star Wars, obviously, with being more kind of science fantasy than science fiction, that you kind of had those anomalies and that exploring, that science kind of side, and I always felt Star Trek gave you that. And so I suppose I agree in that sentiment that Stellaris just offers so much, guys. So that's already a +1 for downloading the mod. Just telling you guys who are watching, right? So obviously we Star Trek. We love Star Trek. If you had to, and I suppose I would want to put this to each of you one at a time. If you had to choose an episode from any of the series that inspired something in particular in the mod, or something you balanced a certain way, what would it be?
Well, I can answer that first, I guess, and I'm going to reply not with an episode, but with an entire season. So season 3 of Enterprise, which is the second best season of Enterprise.
Yeah, I agree.
Such an instrumental part of how we build the mod. We start off in that time period. Most of the bigger event chains are based around there. The interplay between the species there. We didn't intend it to be an Enterprise era mod, but because we start there, we have to give it a lot of focus there. It's the first thing you see. So much of the mod is influenced by season 3 of Enterprise, and that'd be my answer.
Okay. What about yourself, Shago?
Well, it's a difficult question. So I gotta say, one of my favorite episodes probably is the Drumhead, and I do have plans to, when I find the time, to do something with it in the mod. But yeah, didn't get around it yet. So
we need to get the community to pester you to get that around to it, is what you're saying, right?
Indeed, that's one thing, and I think for me it's more like all of it, really. I really dig the Star Trek franchise a lot, and I simply love everything there. Like, okay, let's not talk about the new ones, but that's a different topic.
That's a question later. We'll come up to that one.
Yeah, I think I'm more of an old school guy there, but yeah, I mean it's cool popcorn cinema, but yeah, I do have my issues there. Yeah, so I think it's really the whole franchise which inspired a lot of our mechanics and the approach we do on all the things gameplay wise. So yeah, kind of hard to say. It's not one specific episode.
Excellent. And yourself, Harel?
Well, it is a hard question. I would personally say, because I'm focusing mostly about the feel of combat, that for me it was yesterday's Enterprise.
Yes. Good episode.
Just about getting the right feel of how to balance the feel of the combat, the impacts of torpedoes and phasers, the balance of one heavy ship versus 3 lighter ones. That for me was really the focus.
Yeah, and a very, very good choice of episode as well. So that kind of leads me on to a nice question. Developers hate this, especially Star Trek developers. Whenever I ask them this question or these questions about Star Trek, they all go, "Oh, you can't ask me that question," but I've got to because the viewers demand it. What is or which one, if you had to choose, which would be your favourite show and your favourite captain and why? So, Walshkus, do you want to lead us on that one?
All right, this one's easy for me. Deep Space Nine and Cisco.
And why?
Oh, why? Okay, why? It's really hard to explain, really, but a lot of the time, I love the optimistic view of the future that Star Trek offers. Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future was brilliant, but at the same time, a lot of his eccentricities, I think, got in the way of storytelling. And I think with DS9, what you have is the fundamentals of that. So this optimistic view of the future and this optimistic view of humanity, but at the same time, it's tempered by a little bit more realism. And I think Ronald D. Moore really he ran with that, right? And it gave us fantastic episodes, fantastic drama, like In the Pale Moonlight, most of the Dominion War arc,
Yeah.
things like duets from the first. Like, you wouldn't have got that in any other Star Trek series. And I know there's a lot of controversy there because to a lot of people, it wasn't the kind of Star Trek they were used to seeing.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the kind of Star Trek that I wanted to see. And I think if the new series, if Discovery can sort of tap into that, then I'll be a happy bunny.
And what was it particularly about Sisko that kind of enamored his sort of character over, say, Janeway or Picard, for example?
Well, I'm Picard is a very close second for me, and the reason I say that is because whenever I think about moral quandaries or issues where the right and the wrong answer aren't immediately obvious, it sounds really stupid, but I do think what will Captain Picard do? And that's generally like it sort of outsourced my moral compass to an actor in a TV show, which honestly I don't think is as crazy as it sounds. Patrick Stewart's an amazing actor. I love the guy. He's he's an English icon, really. But I think his episodes, he doesn't have a bad episode, but for me personally, the episodes and the writing that they gave to Sisko, that's what seals it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. What about yourself, Shago?
Yeah, for me it's Picard. Very closely followed by Sisko. So very similar there. And yeah, why? I really like his consequent stance on the morals and like how he defends them. And so he's very he's also kind of a role model there. So I also find myself asking the question, what would Picard do?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's really it for me. Yeah, but very closely followed by Deep Space Nine. I really love the also all these episodes, like in the Pale Moonlight, where there's also those huge moral questions, and and then how Sisko gets around it and deals with all these things. So that's also really, really good. But yeah, so it's a slight win for Picard for me.
Excellent. So we got a Sisko and a Picard so far. Harel, how are you going to tip the scales for us?
I probably won't. Picard is the best captain Starfleet ever had. Probably one of the best role models, I think, not just for the show. I also found myself asking, what would Picard do? I think seeing TNG as a young child probably spurred my own personal interest in becoming an archaeologist. Only difference I would say that as much as I would put DS9 second place just because of the writing, Sisko never did it for me. I think that as a captain, both Janeway and Archer were better written and better acted, but maybe because I think Avery Brooks is just raving lunatic.
Probably true.
No, you just have to see the documentary, The Captains. The guy is just barking mad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that for me, in DS9, really, it's a wonderful show in terms of character writing and development. But as much emphasis as they put on Sisko, and in principle, the level transformation, from becoming a skeptic to the full-blown emissary, his story arcs always felt contrived. And I much preferred Odo's and Quark dynamic. That to me was what made DS9 great, not Sisko.
Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that Jake Sisko is much better than Wesley Crusher.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh by miles. I think what's interesting about the captains is I've always felt that with Star Trek's always been kind of at the very sort of, I would say, not necessarily right on the precipice, but very good at judging trends and actually being diverse. And when I say that, I mean, you know, featuring the first African American captain I felt at the time in a major kind of sci-fi series, the first full female captain lead, and that I thought that was a massive thing for Star Trek as well. And it really kind of scaled well with the way society's changed. So I always found Star Trek to be that kind of lead. I got to say, there are some lines from each of the captains that I kind of just go, I don't know, I can't choose. I mean, you betrayed your uniform. What a line by Sisko. That's just,
yeah.
You know, I loved the emotion in the film as well, because I always felt with Picard, you kind of seen him. He did show a little bit of emotion in TNG, but when you saw him in First Contact, he was, you know, you really saw quite a lot of emotion out of the character, and that was something special, I thought, as well. So yeah, tough question. I've got another one though. This one these guys aren't prepared for because I haven't asked you. So not to scare you too much, but if you had to choose a character outside of the Federation, what's your favourite character and why? So should we start with Harel this time?
But still in Star Trek, right?
Still in Star Trek, so a character that you just absolutely loved in the series, like a major character that was not part of the Federation.
I would probably say Martok, DS9 later seasons. I found that he was very well written, very well acted, and added a lot. Probably he was one of the most, let's say, consistent Klingons, unlike Garon that tilted between being deranged and being very intelligent, and his writing and acting wasn't consistent. I found Martok was a brilliant character.
Yes, absolutely. Garon was just Mr. Scary Eyes, wasn't he, really? And it's he's just something about Garon. He's just slightly gone in the head there. Shago, what about your favourite non-Federation character?
It's also a not so easy question, but it's a close race between Garak and Gul Dukat.
Oh, two epic characters, good choices.
And I'd actually go with Garak, because I just I don't know, he's just such a good written character, and he has some really great episodes, and also it's all the time it's not clear what he's really up to, so I really like that. And yeah, so it's Garak for me, I'd say.
Taylor, Tinker, Spy. Warshikus, for you.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, for me it's even between Garak and Quark, I guess. And I really didn't think I'd like Quark. I was worried it'd be a bit of a stereotype from the first season, but then I got into it again, and I don't know. There's something about, and you know, it's not just Quark. It's actually Quark and Odo. It's that specific relationship. So I know that's actually 3 answers. Yeah, but yeah, Quark and Odo. It's just I love the interplay between them, and I mean they really they changed Ferengi, right? So Ferengi and TNG were just these, you know, monsters basically. They were, you know, just feral hyenas or whatever they tried to portray them as, and then DS9 comes along and you get some nuance to the characters, and yes, they kind of do have the whole Planet of the Hats thing that people talk about, where, you know, every species has a hat. They're either greedy or they're warrior or whatever. Yeah, he's still guilty of that, but at the same time, it's just so entertaining to watch him. Yeah,
I think one of his greatest moments was when my brain's gone blank when his nephew. Brain.
Nog?
Nog, there we go. I got there. Man, what's going on today? Terrible. I'm gonna have the fans moaning at me now about that. The community members. When he got injured and he had to protect him with against what was the episode? AR.
What? Yeah, the siege of AR. Some numbers.
Some numbers. And you kind of saw a different part of Quark then, didn't you? Really, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a great moment. The root beer scene when he's sort of describing root beer to Garak, is it?
Yes,
Garak. I'm pretty sure he's describing it to. Is perfect, and I love the little piss take of First Contact, where he does this whole "the line must be drawn here, this far, no further." I can't remember what the scene was. What it was is some Ferengi civil liberties thing, I think. But yeah.
So great characters. Okay, this one's a doozy. I think we'll start with Shago this time. Actually, it's going to be your favourite starship. This could be Federation, it could be non-Federation, in any series, and why.
Well, I think I gotta go with Voyager on this one. I know it's weird and probably not many people favorite the Intrepid design, but I really love it. Close followed, I think, by the Sovereign. I just like these the streamlined designs. And, it's Voyager. I think it has like more of a. I wouldn't say it's a more realistic feel, but there's often these shots where you see like actual people in the windows and stuff like that, and the fact that it's smaller, much smaller than a Galaxy class. I don't know. It just took my sympathy, and I also really just love the aesthetics. So also cool warp effect. Really cool ship.
And off you go. Voshka's favourite starship.
Seen on screen, it's the Surak class for the Vulcans. I just love that design. I love the whole warp ring concept. So that's my favourite. Not seen on screen, or not seen as a ship on screen. The XCV Declaration class Enterprise, the one you see in the motion picture on the history of the Enterprise. It's on the desk of the Admiral in some of the newer movies as well. I love that design. That's the whole warp ring thing again, and I love the implied continuity then between sort of the early Earth attempts to mimic Vulcan designs and maybe fading there, and it's my favorite design.
Coming up with their own fin. Harel, what about you?
Probably the Galaxy class. I know it's a pretty boring answer, but for me, they really captured the feel of Starfleet in that ship. Just because it wasn't really streamlined, it was bulky and it was huge, but it was also very graceful and majestic, and didn't really. It was a more naive time before the need for ablative armor and faster warp speeds and more phaser strips to combat the Borg. It was just something very elegant and relaxing, even about the Galaxy class.
It was a. Well, it was kind of vessel designed to do a bit of everything, wasn't it? And diplomacy as well. It had those kind of diplomatic duties. It's funny you mentioned the Galaxy, because it was always a bone of contention in the SDA3 team when we used to talk about the Galaxy, because as most people know from the channel, I am a massive Nebula fan, and the debate came up one day, as it does with all Star Trek fans, of which ship would win in direct combat on a first strike basis, and I was strongly in the Nebulous corner because of the torpedo pod. But I'm sure everyone has their opinion on that. We won't start that disco. Just put Team Nebula in the comments if you're happy with anywhere. So, moving on. That leads it nicely to an end. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the first part of the interview. Unfortunately, we're going to cut it short here because it was such a long interview. We've had to spread it into 2 parts. So if you've enjoyed this first part, stay tuned for next week when we continue our chat with the New Horizons devs, and we'll focus on part 2 and dive deeper into the actual mod itself. This is Bane as always, signing out.